Hello, everybody, and welcome to the worldwide premiere of initiative documentary Hometown Water, the Lifeline of Pleasanton. I'm so excited to have all of you here tonight with us. Thank you for joining us to see this amazing documentary and to honor all the hard work that the people from the Go Green Initiative have put into this. So, we have a little bit of reverb, which we tried to avoid. I'm so excited to have all of you here. Okay, there we fixed that. Even the best laid plans don't always work with technology, so always bear. Just quickly say that we are in the midst, as I'm sure all of you out there are aware, so we may lose power, in which case this amazing event might have to be cut short, but we will be then putting in plans to make it happen again. So just bear in mind that moment that could happen, and that is probably why, if everything cuts out, that is probably why, because we have had a blackout due to the heat wave. So just be aware of that. So back to the task at hand though. So welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Sarah Schaefer. I'm Director of Education at the museum, and I am excited to be welcoming you for tonight, the amazing Olivia San Wong. So Olivia, who's been amazing, instrumental to so much of our program, has been related to waterways going on right now. The exhibit ends on Sunday, even though we still have an end date. So just in case any of you are not aware, the Museum on Main has been hosting since the Smithsonian Museum on Main Street runs their traveling exhibit, Waterways, and it's water and all right. Is everyone back? It seems like we're back. Okay. I'm not sure what happened there. The Museum on Main Street, the Smithsonian Museum on Main Street program is a waterways. It's waterways. It's all about water, and so we've been doing programming specifically about water. And Olivia helping her own program on Wednesday, which was amazing. And then she also hosted. She was the moderator for our curator Ken McLennan's program all about water's history in Pleasanton. So Zone 7 Water Agency. She was first elected to Zone 17. Olivia is especially knowledge about the agency and planning for droughts and floods. So I do want to welcome Olivia to the program. She will be our moderator, and we will have a chance for all of you who are viewing to chat with us. You can go to the live chat that if you have a YouTube account, you can actually live chat with us, and we will share your questions with Go Green Initiative team as well as with Olivia. But if you do not have a YouTube account, you can also go to my email. You can email me. I'll be checking my email for questions. My email is education@museumonmain.org. So if you have questions to send to the Go Green team or to Olivia throughout the video that we will handle during Q&A after the premiere, then send them that way, either through the chat if you have a YouTube account or to my email, education@museumonmain.org. And we will get those questions answered for you. So I want to now turn it over to Olivia.
Hi, everyone.
Great.
Yes, I believe we're good. Okay.
Right, I'm going to hand it over to you to introduce the Go Green team.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Sarah, and to the Museum on Main. I believe this summer has been such an amazing summer in terms of us getting to really focus on water and water as our precious yet scarce resource. It's amazing how all of these programs came together this summer in regards to the Museum on Main's special exhibit on waterways, as well as the Go Green Initiative's focus on water and water conservation. And so it's really nice for us to all be together this evening to present this documentary. I am especially excited to introduce Jill Buck, who founded and leads the Go Green Initiative. And she's going to talk a little bit more about the organization and the program, and also introduce some of our student leaders who helped create this documentary. Jill?
Thank you so much, Olivia, and thank you for all your support. None of what you're about to see tonight would have happened without your support, so thank you so much for that. I'm going to be brief because I want to get to the students. They are the brilliant ones behind all of this, and I want all of them to turn on their cameras. Go ahead, everybody. Let's see your faces. This year is the 4th summer that the Go Green Initiative, a Pleasanton-based nonprofit organization, has run summer internships. In 2017, we had 4, and the next year we had 12. Last year we had 33, and this year we had to make some tough choices because 90 Pleasanton high school and college students applied. And we were only able to take 38, but wow, what a group they are. We actually had 50% of our applicants were from Amador. So of the 38 chosen for this internship, 18 were from Amador. You guys can wave. 9 were from Foothill. You guys can wave. And 10 of our interns are college students or graduate students. And of those college students, just to give you some idea where they hail to when they go back to school, we have 2 from Cal Poly, 3 from UC Berkeley, 1 from UC Davis, 2 from UCLA, 1 from UC Merced, and 1 graduate student who's going to be going to Emory soon. She's going to be starting her master's in public health. 2 months ago, none of us knew a whole lot about water, especially Pleasanton's water, and certainly none of us knew how to create a documentary. Yada, yada, yada. Now we do. And you're about to see that documentary tonight. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you 2 of my senior leaders. My right-hand woman, Celine Leroudier, is a college graduate and has been working for the Go Green Initiative for about 2 years. And she is our senior project manager. And Meg Bamer was one of our senior interns this year. She is going into her 3rd year, or yes, 3rd year already at Cal Poly. And she was the director, and Celine was the creative director. So I'm going to turn it over to those 2 ladies. And everyone, thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy this movie.
Thank you so much, Jill, for that introduction. As she said, I'm Meg Bamer. I went to Amador, and I am a biology major at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. This summer, I was one of the 3 senior interns with the Go Green Initiative, and along with that role, as Jill said, I was the director of this documentary, and I am so excited to share it with you guys tonight. It was incredibly eye-opening for me to learn about the municipal side of our water sources. I hope that our documentary allows you all to learn something new tonight and share in my awe of all the people that work so hard to ensure that we have clean water every single day. This is something that even I took for granted just a few months ago.
Hey everyone, my name is Celine Leroudier and I work as the project manager for the Go Green Initiative. Welcome to our red carpet premiere of Hometown Waters. You guys all look glamorous. I too am from Amador, graduated from university with a sociology degree. So this summer I led the Pleasanton branch of the internship and took on the role as creative director for the documentary. So as you can see, both Meg and I have an extensive background in movie making. I'm just kidding, but we couldn't have done this without all of our interns here. So what did we do this summer? How do we get to this point? Well, this summer, the Go Green Initiative employed 38 interns who worked on 2 main deliverables. The first was to create water conservation outreach material and community presentations to help Pleasanton residents and businesses understand why it's important we need to conserve water even when Pleasanton's not in a drought. The interns presented 11 community presentations to specific leadership groups in Pleasanton, such as the Chamber of Commerce, Pleasanton Rotary, Muslim Community Center, and members of the school board. Then the second deliverable was to create this documentary to explain to Pleasanton our historical water use and future water necessities in an entertaining format, we hope. So all of Pleasanton and incoming Pleasanton residents can learn something new about their hometown.
When you're thinking about climate change, it's really easy to get lost in the global aspect of it. While ice caps melting in the North Pole is really sad, it seems really far away. So this summer, we wanted to hone in on Pleasanton and specifically Pleasanton's water and see how we are going to be affected by climate change. Our interns learned about this topic from a variety of resources to assure that we had a well-rounded view on the issue. We had a number of guest speakers, some of who we are lucky to have here tonight. We had Olivia San Juan, the current president of the Zone 7 board. And we also had the first ever director of Zone 7, Dick Karn. We also gained insight from the city's perspective from Rita DeCandia, Pleasanton's environmental services manager. And she gave us really amazing information on Pleasanton's many resources on how to be water conscious. We're really lucky to have these resources as a lot of towns don't have them. And of course, Ken McLennan from the Museum on Main. Besides just the Museum on Main putting on this amazing event tonight, Ken has been invaluable all summer. He helped us with our history portion of the documentary, not only by teaching us about Pleasanton's history, but also by supplying some really interesting photos of Pleasanton's past that I'm excited for you guys to see.
Our interns also researched a variety of topics, such as the relationship between energy and water, the water-energy nexus, as well as our daily habits, such as shopping and traveling, and how that all incorporates into our water footprint. We also researched the different apps and water-saving techniques that the city recommends. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned.
Our interns also dug into written reports. We looked into the Pleasanton Climate Action Plan, the Pleasanton General Plan, and the Bay Area Regional Report from the California's 4th Climate Change Assessment to gain insight for the future portion of our documentary. So essentially, everything that we learned this summer and put hours and hours of work into, you guys get to see in the next 40 minutes in this documentary. Of course, all of our interns were essential in making of this documentary, but I'd also really like to shout out our editing team. A small group of students went above and beyond to assure that this documentary was created in a timely manner, as I made sure that they had to. If our editing team could turn on their video and audio and just say hi so that the audience can see them.
I know that we mentioned a few of our guest speakers earlier, but we would really like to thank everyone that helped us throughout this internship. So thank you to all of our guest speakers, Eric Cartwright, Olivia San Juan, Dick Karn, Ken McLennan, Rita DeCandia, Miguel Viega Pestana, and Josh DeKel for speaking to us this summer. Although we'd love to meet you all in person, the information that you've shared with us has made an invaluable impact to our online internship, so valuable that we thought the entire city of Pleasanton and beyond should know. We'd also like to thank all of our Pleasanton residents that are featured in the documentary: Kenna Kuntla Prasanna, Yashwant Nana Paneni, Lance Smith, Irene Inman, Siri Sridhar. Thank you for inviting us into your own personal water consumption habits. We seriously couldn't have done this without our community support. So knowing that, from all 38 of our interns, we hope you enjoy Hometown Waters. Woo! All right, well, I guess I'm gonna go start sharing.
When you think of Pleasanton, what comes to mind? Maybe you think of the great parks and top schools, the beautiful hiking spots, the shops downtown, or the Meadowlark Dairy. Maybe you visited the Museum on Main or have gone paddle boating at Shadow Cliffs. Believe it or not, none of these Pleasanton institutions could exist without water. This water is made available to us through a complex process that ensures we have enough water to thrive. Now more than ever, it's important to conserve water to ensure water accessibility and security for ourselves and for future generations of Pleasanton residents. It's important to know how this water is supplied to us and why it's such a precious resource. We are fortunate enough to have a water delivery system known as the California State Water Project, or the SWP. It's the largest and most extensive state water project in the entire United States. The State Water Project runs from the northern Sierra Mountains down to the Los Angeles water system and Disneyland water fountains. It's a 400-mile journey.
So, State Water Project is a massive project. It's one of the biggest water projects ever built, ever by anyone. And right now, over 2/3, about 25 million Californians get their water, at least part of their water, from the State Water Project. A single water project delivers that much water up and down the state. The thing about 25 million Californians from one water system is huge.
But let's take a closer look at how SWP currently transports water to our homes. Water starts in the Pacific Ocean. The prevailing winds sweep evaporated water up and east into California. The increased altitude of the Sierra Nevadas catches the water and it precipitates down as snow, where it stays until it melts, giving California a vital supply of water. In fact, in a normal year, early spring snowpacks supply 18.6 trillion gallons of water. This is almost as much water as all of our other reservoirs combined. That means that in years with less than the normal amount of snow, California's water supply decreases significantly. Within the Sierras, water flows down the Feather River watershed. A watershed is an area of land where all the water in snow, streams, and creeks flow to one larger body of water. The Feather River watershed then flows to Lake Oroville, which provides almost all the water to California's State Water Project.
At the base of that watershed, they constructed a dam, and that dam is to form Lake Oroville, to store all that water that was running off from the Sierras. And this is a picture when there's a lot of water and the spillway is spilling water into the lower Feather River. But that dam is not built out of concrete. A lot of dams are built out of concrete. This one is built out of earth and material, soil. And it's 770 feet high, and from one end to the other, more than a mile.
As the State Water Project's largest reservoir, with a capacity of 1.1 trillion gallons of water, Lake Oroville is able to satisfy up to 40% of California's urban water needs for 1 year. Then from the Feather River, water travels south into the Sacramento River and flows into the San Joaquin Delta. From the Delta, the water is pumped into aqueducts. The South Bay Aqueduct brings water into Lake Del Valle. That is how water is transported into Pleasanton reservoirs. But what process does water take to be delivered to our homes? Every year, the Zone 7 Water Agency collects local surface water and a specific allotment of water from the State Water Project. The city of Pleasanton then purchases water from Zone 7 to sell to its residents. If you're a Pleasanton resident, your water bill is paid to the city of Pleasanton.
Yeah, but I wanted to underscore, just how big their responsibility is. I mean, they have to provide treated water to retailers. That means like the city of Pleasanton, the city of Livermore, and parts of San Ramon, the Doherty Valley area of San Ramon.
Zone 7 sends treated potable water to retailers in both the Tri-Valley and Doherty Valley. The agency also sends recycled water to nearly 3,500 acres of vineyards, all while protecting over 37 miles of flood protection channels. In total, Zone 7 serves over 260,000 residents and businesses.
So since our formation in the 1960s, we've evolved to really be focused on these key areas: water supply, flood stream management, water quality, watershed protection, and groundwater management. So here we're looking at the entire Tri-Valley region. So we're looking at, the Doherty Valley region of San Ramon, Dublin, Pleasanton, Livermore. Within this region, you can see 7 provides
about 80% of the water.
Pleasanton's water supply comes from both groundwater and surface water. Surface water is found in lakes, rivers, and streams, and is drawn into the public water supply by an intake. 70% of Pleasanton's water is surface water from the State Water Project, which is supplied through Zone 7 via Lake Del Valle. The other 10% of Pleasanton's surface water is collected through local rainfall in the Del Valle Reservoir. 11% of our water is groundwater. In order to collect groundwater, a well must be drilled into the underground aquifer in order to pump out water. Both Zone 7 and the City of Pleasanton operate these wells to tap into the groundwater basin. The last 9% of Pleasanton's water is recycled water, used for irrigation around the city. Understanding where Pleasanton receives its water is critical, but we must also understand why it's important to conserve water, even when we're not in a drought. Currently, Pleasanton has a relatively steady water supply, but we must continue to manage our water closely. Because we depend on the California State Water Project's water supply, it is important for us to conserve water, especially when our yearly allotment is lower than in previous years. The State Water Project infrastructure as a whole is aging. It's increasingly fragile and very dependent on external factors, such as earthquakes that could potentially interrupt our water transport. Additionally, the amount of water supplied each year is not always reliable. In years when we have smaller snowpack, the SWP cannot fully meet California's nor Pleasanton's water demands. This year, the SWP could only meet 20% of our requested water allocation due to low levels of snow found in the Sierra Nevada snowpack and Lake Pleasanton rain in March.
Living in California, we might have some rain years, but really we live mostly in a drought climate with some rain every now and then.
During the drought, as you can see from that picture on the right, there really just isn't the water. During that year, the folks who are contracting water from the state, including Pleasanton Zone 7 Water Agency, only got 5% to 10% of what we contract for. So that means that if we didn't have other water supplies, if we didn't have other plans in place, they'd be asking to cut back our water use by 90%. That's huge.
If you lived in Pleasanton in the last decade, you may remember the droughts we experienced, especially the most recent, from 2012 to 2017. Understanding how Pleasanton's climate shifts into extensive dry and short wet years highlights the importance of careful management of our water consumption.
The droughts have been and will be a part of our future, and we need to plan for them. We need to make sure that we have enough water one way or another to get through those long dry spells.
To best illustrate the power of water conservation, Eric Cartwright offered a striking hypothetical example.
Okay, so this is my favorite slide. I love doing this. So we're going to talk about this town, and not just for the fun of it, I called it Pleasanton.
The horizontal axis represents years, while the vertical axis represents water quantity. Specifically regarding this water supply is a red line representing water demand, alongside blue bars representing water that's supplied each year. As we know, the State Water Project deposits excess water into Lake Del Valle, represented by blue above the red line. But now, imagine if water demand was precisely equal to water supply. While this is great and all, what if the preceding year's water is significantly less? If water supply strays far from water demand, it's a problem. The solution? Well, the first step is lowering water demand, also known as water conservation. This lowers the red line. Plus, now that there's saved up excess water, Zone 7 sends water south to the California Aqueduct to be stored in Kern County groundwater banks. This way, during the next dry year, this water credit can be cashed in to supplement the allocation of water from the State Water Project. In other words, old water excess can remediate new water shortages. We can also cut back on Pleasanton's water demand now by reducing wastefulness, such as fixing building leaks or stopping the water faucet from running unnecessarily.
The typical household in California will use more than 200 gallons per day on average.
Yeah, so we are a family of 3 members, so we use water like for regular usage, for shower, toilet flushes, dishwashing, and then water heater. So apart from that, we use water for our lawn in the front yard and for all the plants around the house. So our water usage daily, average daily water usage is around 150 gallons per day, which is a little more than the actual average daily usage in California. So I think we need to learn techniques of how to, utilize water appropriately and efficiently. So we'll probably need to learn more information and cut down the water usage for our home.
The main ways I use water every day is for cleaning, drinking, and going to the bathroom. And I feel like recently with the virus going around, I've been using a lot more water for cleaning, especially for washing my hands more often, doing laundry more often, and cleaning surfaces more often. There's also been a leaking faucet in my bathroom that I haven't gotten fixed yet, which has led to another excess. But those are most of my excesses, I believe.
So now that we know water use is a problem, how exactly do we start conserving? Let's look at a breakdown of how we use our water first.
Single-family customers, we want to know in a year, how do they use their water? A good deal of water is spent outdoors and indoors, almost 50-50. This is kind of the typical proportion of how water is used in a household. But what's really important to see here is the way you can really get water use down in this household is, one, get rid of the leaks. You just turn down your water use by 14% if you just find and repair your leaks. And then how about the type of toilet that they use or the type of water fixtures? And that's a great way of using water in a sense where you don't have to think about it too much. It's just much more efficient that way.
I'm Lance Smith. I'm Julia Smith's father, and I live here in Pleasanton. I'm a homeowner. Yeah, so leaks in the home. Your toilet is a very common source of leaks. A little flapper valve can leak, but generally you'll hear it. You know, when it gets bad, you'll hear it and you'll know that, all right, that's time to change the flapper valve. But there's not like leaks in the walls of a house. Mm-hmm. I mean, it'd be a bad situation if the water pipes were leaking in your house.
Yeah. So what do you think someone like you can do to decrease this water waste?
Well, listen to the toilets. I mean, if the toilets are leaking, you can fix that. That's quick and easy. Any handyman kind of person, you don't need to pay anybody to do that.
Pleasanton residents can utilize the city's Smart Water portal to access information about water usage in their own homes. In order to save water, we need to start with knowing how our water is being used.
Something that we have available to any water customer is our Smart Water portal. And when a customer signs up for this, they can also set it to allow them to be notified automatically if they have constant consumption. So that means that there's suspicion that there's probably a leak going on. It has the ability to show you on an hourly basis what the water use is like in your home.
So how can this information help you with your water conservation journey?
An estimate of how much gallons per minute we're using in the shower. Mm-hmm. And then we could time ourselves in the shower and think of how much water we're using.
Yeah. So also using the Smart Water portal, you can see compared to other years how well you were doing, right? So how do you think that can help you with your water conservation?
Well, you could set goals, I suppose, to use less each year and continually get better.
And track it on the website.
You could track it, yeah.
So what do you think you can do to decrease the amount you spend?
I can ask my daughter to take shorter showers. Do you think that'll work?
Okay. And what else do you think?
Well, I might take shorter showers too.
Residents can make a difference in their community as well as in their own homes.
I don't know if you are familiar with our mobile citizen app that we have, but it's an application that goes on your phone. And basically, if you're around town and you spot something like that, like water that's leaking out from someplace, and drain into the storm drain. It just seems like a waste of water that's abnormal. You can actually go into that app and submit to us a water conservation observation, and our staff will respond to that as well too.
This allows you to easily and quickly report leaking hydrants or broken sprinkler heads to the City Operations Service Center to get it fixed right away. The next step is to rethink the way you use water, and it's easier than you might think.
Our prioritization first level when it comes to water conservation is eliminating water waste. So the type of waste that are just unnecessary, that really comes from, breaks or leaks. You can see in the aerial view of this one large landscape just how much water runoff has come off of their irrigation when they've used it for one cycle. There's no plants there, it's just running right off of that landscaping. So finding ways to eliminate the unnecessary water waste is a huge component to helping people conserve water altogether.
Replacing old shower heads and toilets can also help you reduce your water footprint. High-flow toilets and shower heads use 5 times as many gallons of water compared to low-flow toilets and shower heads. By replacing these household appliances, a family of 4 can save around 16,000 gallons of water per year. However, indoor water use, whether at home or in a business, is only part of our water use. What can we do to conserve the water we use outside of our homes?
One of my favorite things to take a look at is the old lawn, and something that many of us have grown up with, we get used to, and then you say, well, wait a second, do we really need all that lawn? It sure is using a lot of water. It's sure taking up my Saturdays, mowing the lawn, aerating the lawn, applying chemicals to the lawn. And my neighbor over there just installed a drought-tolerant garden, and he's saving a ton of money. Doesn't have to mow it every week, and it's good for the environment. It's to me, it's the future of water conservation.
Plus, saving water saves you money.
We also offer a water efficient landscape rebate. So now on the longer term thinking, when we're talking and trying to tell customers different ways, we're encouraging them to say, well, here's what you can do long term is help reduce water use. One of the biggest things you can do is move into what we call climate appropriate landscaping. So these are plants that are either not necessarily native, but they are definitely more hardy when it comes to drier weather. We also think of this program pretty holistically. What that means is we also try to educate and encourage how to basically convert, say, a water-thirsty lawn into a drought-tolerant landscape, do it in a sustainable fashion.
Through the program, residential customers can receive up to $1,000 in rebate, receiving 25 cents per square foot. This is a great incentive for making your yard water efficient.
Hi, I'm Irene Inman, and I'm a Pleasanton resident. I've lived here for 20 years since my retirement.
How long have you lived in this house?
About 17 years.
And so was the original landscaping this?
No, it was grass.
And why did you remove the grass?
For several reasons. One, to save water, and a few other ones. It's a lot of work.
How much water have you saved compared to the years before?
Roughly about 7,000, a little over 7,000 gallons a month in the summer months.
And will you change your front yard to be drought resistant?
Thinking about it.
Yeah? Okay.
While you're conserving water at home, the City of Pleasanton is also trying to decrease their water usage as a whole. It's important that residents are aware of the decisions that the city is making about our water. You can stay informed by attending City Council and Zone 7 board meetings, which are open to the public, and keeping up to date with the latest updates and virtual events regarding our water management and usage. Staying educated on Pleasanton's water usage will help residents make informed decisions when voting on local water-related issues. Although Pleasanton residents are not direct customers of Zone 7 because our city buys water from Zone 7 for us, we can still vote for their board members and have an impact on how our water is handled. The Pleasanton City Council makes a lot of decisions that impact the quality of our drinking water from Pleasanton wells, so it's important to know where our mayor and city council stand on water issues. One of the ways the city is managing their water usage is through the Climate Action Plan, or CAP, written in 2012. This document outlines how the city has been making decisions about water for the last 8 years. A CAP 2.0 will be released in 2020.
So the three main strategies are the community building and landscape design improvements, municipal building and landscape improvements, and then finally increasing or establishing the use of reclaimed or gray water systems.
In addition to the Climate Action Plan, Pleasanton also has a general plan to guide our community through 2025. The water element of the general plan, published in 2009, essentially serves as a guide for the city of Pleasanton in terms of progression with water management. There are 8 policies that are outlined within the water element, all of which feed into the main goal: ensuring a safe, healthy water supply for the city and conserving resources for the future as well. For instance, in 2015, the City of Pleasanton completed their Purple Pipes project, bringing recycled water to water community parks. Rather than using clean, potable drinking water, the City of Pleasanton has already saved 450 million gallons of clean water by using recycled water to water its parks. As a part of the general plan, Pleasanton has been working on increasing the use of reclaimed and recycled water in parks with heavy amounts of landscaping irrigation, such as the Hacienda Business Park, Pleasanton Sports and Recreation Park, and Pleasanton Tennis and Community Park. Understanding that Pleasanton is located in a region characterized by droughts and dry weather, it is imperative that we manage our water supply sustainably. By introducing water conservation techniques into your life, you can help your community become a more drought-tolerant city. After all, water conservation is a community effort, and we all have our parts to play in ensuring a bright, water-filled future for our community.
So, you just learned about what Pleasanton's water looks like today. But how did we get here? Understanding how land was managed centuries ago can help us understand why we see the landscape patterns we live in today. This in turn will help us design more resilient landscapes for the future. Let's take a look back to the pre-contact era, around 1750, before the Spanish explorers arrived. Thousands of years ago, Pleasanton was situated on a 2,600-acre freshwater marsh. The marsh was filled with open water ponds, dense willow thickets, and wildlife, such as grizzly bears, yellow-billed cuckoos, and steelhead trout. None of this wildlife exists in present-day Pleasanton, so you can imagine how much has changed in the past 300 years. At that time, the only inhabitants of the Pleasanton area were Native Americans, specifically the Pelnan that lived in the Pleasanton-Dublin region, the Siouan in Dublin, and the Siouan north of Hacienda Crossings.
Their water use was actually pretty light, mostly drinking, cooking, and washing, and a little used in making things. But they also relied on the plants and animals of the wetlands for food and for materials. Fish, birds, and tule reed, just to cite a few examples.
This all changed in 1797, when Spanish conquistadors established Mission San Jose in modern-day Fremont. Along with the arrival of the Spanish came the introduction of new livestock. This turned the valley into grazing land for over 50,000 cattle and sheep.
Now, all these cattle, sheep, and horses drink water, probably a lot more than people and animals altogether used before the invasion. But it still doesn't register as a major depletion or alteration of the supply. There's no attempt to drain the marsh or bring water in from elsewhere. And that continues up until the 1860s. But in 1864, there's a major drought. and it kills off thousands of livestock. And a lot of the ranchers there, because they've got taxes and things to pay, decide that they need to sell off, and they start selling off to farmers who are going to engage in grain agriculture.
The completion of the Western Pacific Railroad in 1869 not only connected Pleasanton to San Francisco, but also tripled Pleasanton's population. However, as Pleasanton's population grew, San Francisco's and the rest of the Bay Area's population grew even faster. The Bay Area's exploding population brought a demand for food crops. With the railroad's efficient transportation, Pleasanton was able to satisfy the new demand for crops and thus shifted its economy from cattle-based to agriculture. With Pleasanton's agricultural economy and industry booming, farmers needed more land. To meet this demand, Pleasanton's marshland was drained and farmed over in 1880. Originally, Pleasanton's water table was very high, and residents didn't have to dig very deep to reach water. Artesian wells were installed throughout the area, and no pumping was required to extract water, allowing for a constant, easily accessible supply. In 1890, Spring Valley Water Company, San Francisco's water supplier, began purchasing land in the Niles Canyon, Alameda Creek, and Arroyo de la Laguna to export millions of gallons of water to San Francisco. Water flowed into this land from the Pleasanton Marsh and the Arroyo del Valle, which were important water sources for Pleasanton farmers. This greatly decreased Pleasanton's water supply. By 1900, Pleasanton's water table had decreased so much that the remainder of Pleasanton's marsh, as well as its flora and fauna, had drained and disappeared, creating the landscape we see today.
By the mid-1890s, Pleasanton's water table was so low that artesian wells were rendered useless. Citizens' need for water drove the city to establish a central water system in 1902. East of Pleasanton, where McKinley Park stands today, a motorized waterworks was built with pumps and mains that would pipe running water into Pleasanton homes and businesses. This system pumped 85,000 gallons a day.
However, this central water system was only reliable for a year. In June of 1903, water supply once again became a problem and continued to get worse. Pleasanton's water table dropped significantly, and the population surpassed 1,000. With more people came growing water demand, and these pipes and pumps could not keep up.
So the city ended up signing a contract with Spring Valley Water Company to provide supplemental water deliveries in the summer of 1916. And although Spring Valley was extracting Pleasanton's groundwater, the city's wells could no longer hit the depths that they were reaching, and therefore they needed to get water from another source that had more money and better machinery, such as the dedicated water company of the city of San Francisco.
In 1930, San Francisco bought Spring Valley Water Company, and with that, Pleasanton's water contract transferred to the city of San Francisco. This contract continued until the 1960s, when the State Water Project began delivering water to Pleasanton. From the 1890s to the 1960s, 10 million gallons of water were pumped out of the valley every day. A few additional events helped develop the water infrastructure we see today in Pleasanton. With the U.S. declaration of war on Japan in the early 1940s, the Parks and Shoemaker Naval Base complexes were built in the Tri-Valley. With the bases came 40,000 new residents.
So suddenly, this valley that people really hadn't thought could support, more than 15 or 20,000 folks, has got a total population of close to 50,000 by the final year of the war.
Without a source of water, they couldn't grow. And back when Pleasanton began to grow, when I first came out here for the first time back in the 1950s, the population of Pleasanton was probably about 2,500 people. And so, what is it today? About 75,000 people. So they had to have water in order to grow. And so they wouldn't have had any of the development out here if they didn't have a stable water supply.
As is typical of marsh areas, Pleasanton is located at the lowest point in the valley, making it a prime location for floods, a characteristic of marsh areas. A series of devastating floods occurred in 1955, which led to the formation of the Zone 7 Water Agency in 1957. Zone 7's primary goal was to reduce flooding by canalizing both Arroyo del Val and Arroyo Mocho to divert water away from the new city development where the marsh once was.
We formed Zone 7 in 1957, formed the board of directors, and put together a program to both improve the flood control area and solve the problem of flooding up here, and also to provide a water source, another water source.
In order to guarantee that all California residents had a safe, reliable source of water, the State Water Project was introduced and built in the 1960s. To ensure that the Tri-Valley would benefit from the lake's water supply, Zone 7 service area residents voted to approve a bond measure to help finance flood control, water conservation and supply, including the State Water Project. In 1962, Zone 7 began collecting water from the State Water Project in order to recharge Pleasanton groundwater.
What we did in Zone 7 then was put together a program in 1960 water from the South Bay Aqueduct and bring it in to Livermore and Loveland.
Lake Del Val Reservoir was built in 1968 as a part of the State Water Project. The reservoir is still used today to store water for residents. Between 1968 and today, there have been a number of natural occurrences and developments that have impacted Pleasanton's water infrastructure. There were multiple droughts, including one in 1977 and another in 1989. In 1981, Pleasanton expanded its water storage by filling its abandoned quarries and forming the chain of lakes between Livermore and Pleasanton. And most recently, Zone 7 adopted water conservation measures and rebate programs in 1992. Clearly, Pleasanton has gone through many developments in terms of its water systems. We went from a 2,600-acre freshwater marsh, to grazing lands, to using wells, to using reservoirs, and a well-developed wastewater treatment center. Now, 200 years later, things are still evolving. With droughts becoming a more regular occurrence, we must adapt and prepare ourselves for drier weather.
Now, what's happening is there's problems with drought, which has reduced the amount of water that's available in the north, and that puts on the development in the south. And the new sources of water are probably number one will be to conserve and use our water more effectively that we have, and then also to develop other sources of water that may be from seawater and other areas of reclamation and reclaiming water that is now wastewater.
As the climate and the environment around us continue to change, we must evolve with it, just as the Native Americans, Spanish conquistadors, rancheros, farmers, and the Pleasantonians before us once did.
In 21st century news, the issue of climate change is talked about again and again. From greenhouse gas emissions warming our atmosphere to massive deforestation of the rainforest, many of us have learned at least a little about global warming and the depletion of Earth's resources.
We often forget that the planet is made up, 70% of the planet is made up of water, okay? We all know that. But as we also know, a big chunk of it is the ocean, and we also know that the amount of drinking water is pretty finite. I mean, it's So we know that there's only so much water that we can use, and it's a resource that we should preserve and protect. But we also know we've been consuming way too much of it. We don't really understand, and we actually don't think about it. And there are so many things that we all do every single day without thinking. What is this going to mean for the future? Yeah, in terms of what's it going to do for our economy if we run out of water? What's it going to do for and jobs in our city? And what's it going to do in terms of the health impacts, the public health effects? And what does it mean for me in terms of not having access to good, clean, affordable water? Because one thing for sure, when you start running out of water, you're going to have to pay for it a lot more.
However, much of what we learn about climate change discusses the issue on a global scale. A lot of us don't know much of anything about how climate change impacts us right here in Pleasanton, except for maybe that our summers are getting hotter. What will become of Pleasanton? What will become of our water? And most importantly, what can we do to prevent it? Admittedly, it can get pretty overwhelming to think about climate change's effects on the globe, and naturally, climate change sounds difficult to tackle on any scale, globally and locally. Let's take a look at the risks Pleasanton is facing by looking at what has been done and what can be done. As residents of California, we face risks of climate change with an increase in droughts.
In the next 50 years, my guess is if we're lucky, we might have maybe half those years without drought. I think most likely it's going to be more than half those years with droughts.
We have already seen how a drought can affect Pleasanton's water supply, and it is important that we prepare for this risk. But while it is true that a drought will negatively affect Pleasanton's water supply, it is a somewhat familiar risk. What are other things that we need to prepare for? As we mentioned earlier, changing climate patterns will result in less snowpack in the Sierras. According to the San Francisco Regional Report of the 4th California Climate Change Assessment, snowpack is projected to decline by nearly 20% in the next 2 to 3 decades, 30% to 60% by the mid-century, and by over 80% in the late century. This means the State Water Project will have less water to distribute to California residents. Limited rainfall is also detrimental to our city's water supply. The water we get from the Arroyo Val is the rain that Lake Del Val collects. According to the Zone 7 Water Supply Evaluation Update of 2016, forecasts show that the median rainfall is expected to decrease by 2 inches per year. Such a decrease in local precipitation could substantially decrease flows in Alameda Creek and natural groundwater recharge in the region. This decrease in rainfall also threatens our groundwater, since rainwater recharges our groundwater supply. Under the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, Zone 7 has been an official groundwater sustainability agency since 2016. This means they are in charge of managing the Livermore Valley groundwater basin to assure that it is sustainable and that we do not pull too much water out of it. 90% of our water supply is vulnerable, but Zone 7 is on it and has plans to help mitigate the problem. According to Zone 7's Water Supply Evaluation Update, beginning in 2020, they plan to build a 6-mile pipeline from Cope Lake to Del Val and a 12 million gallons per day pumping station. This will allow Zone 7 to better manage local water supplies, recharge the local groundwater basin, and increase local water storage ability. To manage our water supply, Zone 7 has also partnered with the Bay Area Regional Reliability Group, or BAR. BAR is made up of 8 of the primary water agencies in the Bay Area. All members agreed to evaluate their water supplies to best combat climate change and its effects from a regional standpoint. BAR is considering a number of alternatives to secure our future's water supply, including collecting stormwater and implementing potable water reuse. The last 9% of our water is recycled water from Pleasanton's Purple Pipes project, which we touched on earlier. As of July 2020, the Purple Pipes project has reached its limit, but the agency that supplies the recycled water, DSRSD, is looking into expansions. As our population grows, we will have more wastewater to recycle. Another possibility is utilizing fringe groundwater that is not clean enough to be potable. In general, the project has been extremely successful, with 100% of wastewater entering the plant being recycled in the summer months. But you can help too.
But there's a massive amount that we could do in our personal day-to-day lives just to think about the way that we can do some small things here and there that can reduce our total water footprint.
We have already talked about how decreasing water demand can increase water reliability. And hopefully, now you can see why that is so important. Israel and Australia have very similar climates to California, and their citizens use 65 to 90 gallons per capita per day, while we in the Bay Area use 104 gallons per capita per day. If they can do it, we can do it too. In addition to decreased water supply, we are also facing increased water demand.
As you know, our population here in the Tri-Valley region, it's grown a lot and projected to continue to grow. And so these are the projections that we have for the Tri-Valley population growth. And more people generally means more water demand, although I can say collectively we are better at being more water conscious in terms of, buying water efficient washing machines and also, water efficient toilets. And maybe some people are creating drought tolerant gardens instead of very thirsty green grass. So there are some things that we are doing, as consumers, as individuals, also our businesses in terms of their irrigation needs, that's, decreasing that demand on our water.
We will not just need more water due to increased population, but also because it will be hotter.
I know we've never had summers as hot as they've been in the last 5 years.
The 2017 Bar Drought Contingency Plan clearly shows that the Bay Area, including Pleasanton, doesn't have the facilities to handle that kind of demand. With current infrastructure, it is predicted that in the near future, Zone 7's water demand will be 72,000 acre-feet per year. But in the case of a one-year-long drought, our supply would be closer to 50,000 acre-feet per year. To compensate for our deteriorating infrastructure and inadequate water supply, BAR recommends investing in expanded water storage, as well as water transportation between systems. Securing our water supply for the future will require investment in infrastructure, and it's important to plan ahead for the funding we will need.
Individuals need to understand they have a lot of power. Increasingly, digital media and social media gives you even more power because you can go direct to power. You could tweet whoever you want, right?
On a more local level, Pleasanton is guided by the Pleasanton Climate Action Plan. Though it evolves to meet new obstacles, its goals remain the same. Reduce greenhouse gas emissions, prepare Pleasanton for current and future climate change impacts, and build community resiliency to adapt to variable conditions. One of the main objectives of the Pleasanton Climate Action Plan is to reduce water use by community and municipal buildings by promoting the use of recycled water, offering rebates for conservation devices, and incentivizing reduction in outdoor irrigation. These conservation methods are essential to protecting Pleasanton's water supply. Pleasanton has a long history of investing in the next generation. Our schools, parks, sports, and arts programs provide ample evidence that our city cares about kids. Ensuring that Pleasanton will have a safe, reliable water supply for years to come is essential if we want future Pleasantonians to enjoy the community we know and love today. This is why we need to conserve water now and invest in modern water delivery infrastructure.
Hi, my name is Siri Schuther and I'm going into 4th grade at Moore Elementary School in Pleasanton. Climate change makes me feel like I really want to find a way that I can fight it. I think we can still fix it. I take showers, drink it, wash my hands with it. I think that I try to save water by trying to remember to turn off faucets and not use as much water.
We may not be able to see exactly what our future will look like, but we know that our city's water future is at risk because of climate change. And after looking into Pleasanton's past and our present water stories, we now know for sure that water conservation must be a part of our future. It is vital to take action that will make us ready for climate change on a local level, and to invest in creating a reliable water supply for our community to thrive for generations to come. We as individuals are equipped to be change makers within our community. We can use our resources and make a difference.
All right, welcome back, everyone. That was amazing. Really, everybody, if you could just give a round of applause. I know we're not going to be able to hear all of it right now, to the Go Green Initiative and these students. That was just so informative and inspiring, and I hope that everyone who was part of the group feels proud, as well as friends, family, and neighbors who are all watching right now on YouTube Live. I know I'm personally incredibly proud. And, you know, there's one point I like to make when thinking about this project. You know, this was all done this summer of 2020 during our pandemic summer. Everything was done virtually, as you could tell. You know, the interviews were all on Zoom, or were possibly with family members in person. And I believe that that in and of itself is an achievement, in addition to learning so much about our water system. So again, just another round of applause before we break into our question and answers. And thank you everyone for submitting your questions on the YouTube Live chat. And we'll continue to take a few more questions and answer them here. And our student panelists will do most of the answers. I may jump in if it makes sense. Did we want to do quick introductions of some of the student panelists that we have tonight?
Let's do it. How about if everybody would just real quick go through, say your name and what school you go to. Let's give everybody a chance.
Hi, my name is Sahana Kumar, and I am a rising junior at Amador Valley High School.
Hi, my name is Afreen Shamim, and I'm a rising senior at Foothill High School, or I am a senior now.
Hi, I'm Amelia Flores, and I'm a junior at Amador Valley High School.
Hi, my name is Sujana Sridhar, and I'm a senior at Amador Valley High School.
Hi, I'm Arvind Swaminathan, and I'm a senior at Amador Valley High School.
I'm Aruna, and I'm also a senior at Amador Valley High School.
Hi, my name is Anisha Sheth. I'm one of the senior interns for the Go Green Initiative this summer, and I'm a graduate student at Emory University.
Hi, I'm Divya Valaker. I'm a sophomore at UC Berkeley.
Hi, I'm Trisha. I'm a senior at Amador Valley High School.
Hi, I'm Nikki, and I'm a senior at Foothill High School.
Hi, I'm Cassie. And I'm also a senior at Amador High School.
Hi, I'm Mira, and I'm a senior at Amador Valley High School.
Hi, I'm Amy, and I'm also a senior at Amador.
Hi, I'm Colin, and I am another senior at Amador Valley High School.
Hi, I'm Allison, and I'm an incoming freshman at UCLA.
Hi, I'm Luana, and I'm a senior at Amador Valley High School.
Hi, I'm Shuchi, and I'm a senior at Amador Valley High School.
Hi, I'm Aryan, and I'm a sophomore at Amador Valley High School.
Hi, I'm a senior at Foothill High School.
Hi, my name is Una, and I'm also a senior at Foothill High School.
Anthony, and I'm a junior at Foothill High School.
Hi, I'm Aditi, and I'm a sophomore at Amador Valley High School.
Did we miss anyone? All right. Great job, everybody. I'm so glad that you guys all got a chance to get your face on camera because you sure earned it. Everybody worked so hard this summer. Olivia, I know that we're going to have you facilitate the questions, but interns, get ready. We may be directing them right your way, and we want to hear from you. So Olivia, if you will start with whatever question you want to begin with, we will supply the brain power behind that.
Sure, yes, great. So I'll start with our first question, and I'm gonna actually also start with the answer for the first question, but if after I answer, if one of the students would also like to jump in, you're welcome to, and if not, that's fine too. So the first question we received is, what determines our share of the state water project? Is it based on population or size of the locality? What determines our share of the state water project is our contract with the state water project. And that determines the amount of water that we receive, as well as what we pay into the state water project infrastructure. Now, we do have the ability to purchase additional water from other state water project contractors. In fact, I saw this question early on, and I went back to my own personal archives, and our July 15th, 2020 Zone 7 board meeting, item number 13, we actually voted on a proposal to do a water exchange with Napa County Water, which is also part of the state water project. And that is going to enable us to increase our water supply, you know, should we be able to negotiate a good contract with Napa County to take some of their excess water this year to help meet our water demand here in the Tri-Valley region. If anyone else would like to jump in real quick, I'll look and see if there is a student who wants to say anything. Based on your research, I don't think so. So we'll move on to the next question. Just give me a moment to scroll down. Okay, this one I am going to ask the students to answer. What is the biggest thing a homeowner can do to conserve water?
So I can answer that one. So a big way that someone can conserve water is for sure checking for leaks. That is one of the most important ways, and that's like a way you can for your home. But personally, eating less meat, if that's not really home related, but eating less meat for sure is a way to conserve water as well, because meat does take up a lot of water. So therefore, by limiting how much you eat, that can also decrease your water usage by a lot.
If I could add on to what Amelia says, I think it's definitely a personal experience. For example, I'm vegetarian, so I don't have the meat problem, but I do have an Amazon Prime account and I do buy a lot of things online. And I never thought that shopping would actually be a major part of my water use, but it's over half of it. So honestly, just doing your own research and seeing what do I do the most that revolves in environmental impact and how can I reduce that? Personally, for me, it's shopping, but it can be anything for anyone.
And Sahana, I would like for you to tell us, because a lot of people don't know how you learned that. What's the website where people can go to calculate their water footprint? Beyond just their water bill, where do we go to find that out?
So I'm not sure if this is the exact website, but if you simply search up water footprint calculator on your Google, it will show up as a quiz. It's a 5-minute quiz. It's super simple. It just asks you how you live your lifestyle. For example, if you have any solar panels on your home, do you drive an electric car? How much do you shop? Answering those simple questions will show you how much water you spend per item exactly, and it'll help you lower the amount of water you can do with little tips and tricks, and it's definitely helped me reduce my online shopping habit.
Anisha, you wanted to say something too. Go right ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say that like one of the other big changes that you can make is just be more conscientious of when you're using water. So don't keep water running when you're brushing your teeth. Another way is just timing your showers and keeping like an eye on your water bill, being like, oh, okay, well, I have a lot more or I used a lot more water this month. What could I do to cut down?
As a homeowner, our daily usage is 56% of our daily usage. So as a homeowner, you want to really look out for outdoors water use, such as your lawns and your irrigation. So turning that thirsty lawn, as we said in the documentary, into a drought resistant garden would be great. And then indoors, you got to look out for your leaky appliances and showers.
And also, if you'd like specifics, you can go on to the Go Green Initiative YouTube page where we have the water conservation presentation that we've given to different groups in Pleasanton.
Just for general resources, the interns this summer, we made a webpage on the Go Green Initiative website that has a complete list of all the resources that we talked about in our documentary, as well as some extra ones. And it was at the end of the documentary, but it's also gogreeninitiative.org/savewater. So that will tell you everything that you need to know about how to save water.
All right, I think we covered that one pretty well. Thanks, guys. Good job. Olivia, what's our next question?
Yeah, the next question is related to that about resources where someone can go to conserve water. And I think we pretty much answered that question. And I really like the direction to go to the Go Green Initiative website. The other resource I can share too is actually our Museum on Main with the Waterways exhibit this summer. There is a panel in the Waterways exhibit that talks about water footprint. And I know because of the pandemic, we weren't able to go in person to the exhibit. However, the museum did create a series of videos of the exhibit. So you would be able to see that particular panel. But the website that was shared in the previous question is also an excellent one. And then I know that there is at least one water footprint book at the Pleasanton Library, since I personally have checked that book out. And so that would be an option as well if someone prefers the printed material. All right, our next question. Does the info about the mobile app for the leakage info around the town is published on our water bill? So mobile app for leakage info around town. It's published on our water bill. I do believe, so I don't think we have this fully written out, but I can say, when you log into the mobile app for City of Pleasanton or on the website, the pleasantonwater.com website, the tracking, a few years ago, Pleasanton did put in a whole series of sensors for all of our water meters. And so then that tracking that's on the website and on the app, it's the same as what we see on our water bills that we receive from the City of Pleasanton. So they are connected. Okay, this one, let's see if the students want to answer this next one. What are some ways that we can improve our irrigation system? So I know this was somewhat answered with the thirsty lawns, but let's maybe hear a few more details.
I can speak on like one of the ways. I think definitely putting like a timer or like whenever you're watering during off hours like dawn and dusk. It's just better overall, because if you water like your plants or your lawn in the middle of the day, it's hotter, so obviously it would evaporate more. So you're gonna have to conserve that water by watering like off hours during like dusk and dawn. Another one would just be to like check for leaks. I think we said this before, just our different irrigation systems might have leaks over time. So I think definitely checking for those would add up. And then I think someone spoke about this as well, but a drought resistant lawn, just having the way that your lawn is like landscaped and everything can definitely help you conserve water over a long period of time.
And I just want to add that to what Luana said about the times. I think the Pleasanton City website does actually have somewhere on there the times that the recommended times during the day of when to water your plants. So you guys should definitely check that out if you want to make sure that you're conserving as much water as possible.
And then checking if you have any broken like sprinkler heads. If they're broken, they can really spout out many gallons of water. And if your sprinkler is facing the right direction, if it's on the sidewalk and into the gutter, you're not watering your plants. So check that out.
Also drip irrigation systems are great because they help control the amount of water that's being released. And so it goes at a slower rate that allows it to absorb into the soil instead of just going down the road or wherever else it will go.
Excellent. Those are all great answers. And then there's another question similar to this. So I think these questions were asked during that point in the documentary where we were discussing this. In your research, did any of you find side-by-side info about how much we'll save after converting into drought-tolerant lawn from regular lawn, as we may have to invest more to convert the current lawn than what we may save?
I can talk about this just from personal experience. My family got a drought-tolerant lawn a few years ago. So I think we don't necessarily have the exact side-by-side info because it really depends on location. But if you, in terms of making an investment, you do save somewhat with a drought-tolerant lawn. But like if you want to like really reduce your water usage, I would say going full on like drought tolerant landscaping with gravel and succulents and that kind of thing is like your best bet if in terms of saving money.
That's a good answer. And I know that there are resources both at the City of Pleasanton and at Zone 7 in regards to creating this drought tolerant landscape. I know Zone 7 offers a rebate, and I believe City of Pleasanton does as well. And then we have a program at Zone 7 called Garden in a Box that's supposed to be more drought tolerant. And I believe it gives a reduced rate for some of that type of landscaping. So there are definitely resources out there and also money saving options to explore locally as well. Okay, we've got a great one in terms of the team's opinions on some of the biggest corporation water users. And the example given here is golf courses. And then what's a team's opinion on some of the biggest, oh, it's the same question. So what's your opinion on some of the biggest corporation water users? The example is golf courses, but there might be another one, maybe Coca-Cola, for example.
So this is honestly just my opinion. I have not done much research into this topic, so please take this with a grain of salt. I think that it's every corporation's duty to understand what they are spending and what they are doing for the environment, especially when it comes down to companies like Coca-Cola, which honestly don't regulate as much what trash goes where and where their products go after they've been used, because these are single-use items. I would say that when it comes down to it, corporations should understand that what they're doing isn't the best for the environment and actively try to lower their impact. For example, golf courses, like the example was given in the question, simply trying to switch to drip irrigation, maybe trying to get fake grass. These are just little things that you could do that would not only save a lot of money for the company itself, but make sure that they know that their customers care about the environment, and they do too.
Do you guys have any thoughts on golf courses or any local businesses? Do you guys, we talked about the percentage of Pleasanton's water that's used by businesses in Pleasanton. Any thoughts about those numbers?
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. So we have learned in our research that in Pleasanton, the majority of our water use is by residences and actually not by businesses. So it starts at home for sure. No matter what kind of job we have, where we work, just at home, we can have a really big impact. But businesses, of course, do use some of Pleasanton's water as well. And we actually do know that the Pleasanton Golf Course uses a lot of water, a lot of energy. It's a property that just sucks a lot of resources for sure. And that is something that hopefully in the future we can find a sustainable option for. I know it's a bit of a controversial issue at times. We maybe could go in the direction of expanding purple pipes there. That would be something that would be amazing if we got there one day. So yeah, that's definitely what comes to mind for me when I think of what outside of the home in Pleasanton uses the most water.
Thanks, Claire. Anybody else?
I also feel like transparency is probably like a major thing. Being able to like, if these companies told us like how much water they're using and like showing what they're doing to improve that water usage, it can help us as consumers realize that, oh, maybe I want to go to this company more than another company. So it can change like our consumer habits, but it also can convince us as individuals to change our own water consumption.
Great. All right. Good answers.
These are great answers. I think this ties into the next question as well. And it's asking about supplying residents with recycled water to water their lawns. And I do want the students to answer this, but I do want to also make one point about the golf course in Pleasanton specifically. I do know during our most recent mega drought, there was recycled water available at the DSRSD plant here in Pleasanton. And the city of Pleasanton did bring that recycled water to our city golf course to water the lawn there. And there has been conversation about bringing purple pipes to the golf course. So that's something that's still in the works and in discussion. In terms of bringing recycled water to water our lawns, in your research, what did you learn about this particular question?
So I'm sure a lot of us remember in the days of the drought, there was a lot of recycled water and a lot of residents were using that. And we have heard from quite a few people that they're missing that program or that they'd totally be willing to water their lawns with that, which is fantastic. The problem is the treatment center that processes this water is actually at its capacity. So it's producing the maximum amount of recycled water that it can given the facility. So they're doing the best they can. It's just they're getting so much and they're not able to process it, which is why that program is kind of slowed down.
Exactly. We got that in the middle of our internship. We saw that press release come out from a DSRSD meeting. And so we were able to incorporate that right into our internship. Good job, Divya. What's our next question?
Okay, yes. Let's go down here. All right, we have one question about what is going on with the arroyo. And I'm going to go ahead and answer this because the next question also talks about who controls the arroyo. And there are a system of arroyos here in the Tri-Valley region. And there are many different property owners along the arroyo. So it's not one owner across the entire system. In terms of, so I know there's been some conversation about the downtown Pleasanton Arroyo Trail, the Centennial Trail, and how portions of it are now, the water's currently not flowing. And the main reason for this is the water that will flow through that arroyo, it's going to be from our natural rainfall. It's actually part of the contract with the State Water Project at Lake Del Valle does say that the natural rainfall still has to flow through the arroyos. And so right now, because this was a pretty dry year, that natural rainfall supply has now been diminished. And so that's one reason we do see some of the dry portions along the arroyo. If there are more specific ones, I'd be happy to answer some of that, but let's continue on. So the next question is about future construction permits tied to water forecasts?
Hmm.
I'd be happy to answer this, but I'm not sure if any of the students have research along these lines that they'd like to share.
We really didn't cover that, that aspect. We were focused primarily on water conservation.
Yeah, fair point. Okay, yes. So Zone 7, I can share, you know, with Zone 7, we do not have land use planning authority here in the Tri-Valley region. Where we come into play at Zone 7, though, is that when there is construction, there does need to be a Zone 7 hookup, as well as sewer hookups, whether it's DSRSD or City of Livermore. And so that is part of the process when the construction does come into the planning departments. And so, you know, at Zone 7, when we are looking at water supply and demand, our mission is to meet the demand that we receive from our retailers. We have 4 retailers, as well as a number of direct customers, mainly the wineries in Livermore are our direct customers. And so we take the demand from our direct customers, City of Pleasanton, DSRSD, City of Livermore, and then Cal Water. So Livermore split between Cal Water and City of Livermore. And when we get that demand from each of our customers, we use that to then manage the supply. And so then, for example, I gave earlier about the water exchange with Napa County, that we entered into that negotiation because we could see that the demand this year was not going to meet the current supply that we have. And we wanted to make sure that we have some options in terms of water transfers. So we base, so in terms of construction permits, it is a little bit tricky. But really at the end of the day, that's going to be at the decision level at each of the cities. And also then the cities and the retailers will give us at Zone 7 that water demand forecast. I know it's a convoluted answer. There's a little bit more detail we could go into, but I don't want to take us down that road during this Q&A. I'd be happy to explore that particular question more in depth with whoever asked it. So please feel free to reach out to me individually. Okay, I know we have a few more questions. Give me a moment. So the next question is kind of similar about the city coordinating with Zone 7 regarding development projects, ensure we have water to meet developments. I think I answered that. Can one of you show a list of websites and apps here for us to copy and paste? I haven't had a chance to check the YouTube live stream, but if there's a way to put in the link for the Go Green Initiative website where you talk about, is that already there? Perfect.
Yep, I'll do that right now.
Got lost, so.
I think that's a great place to start for everyone who's watching, is the Go Green Initiative link. Okay, the next question is about toilets. I'm gonna give this one to students, but I also have an answer, but I want to see what the students have to say first. If toilets are a main contributor to domestic water consumption, are there practical waterless solutions?
Well, this isn't a waterless solution, but I definitely think it's great to reiterate that a low flow toilet can reduce the amount of water your toilet uses a lot. I think a standard toilet uses about 5 gallons of water per flush, and a low flow toilet uses about 1 gallon of water per flush. So that definitely adds up quickly. So that is a great place to start if your toilet is not already low flow and you're looking for a way to make your toilet less of a demanding appliance. You could definitely look into investing in a low flow toilet.
Another option, which might not be very popular, but during some of the droughts that we've had, you don't flush the toilet when you go to the restroom. So basically you let it mellow. But that's like another way of doing it without using as much water.
And going off the low flow toilets, I feel like another way we can conserve water when it comes to them is installing newer flappers, which I know I've researched are provided by the city as well as Zone 7.
Excellent. And I can add to this because I personally had this situation where I had a leaky toilet, and as soon as I fixed it, it brought down my water consumption significantly. So that goes back to the first point we made when we talked about water conservation. It's to try to find those leaks. And in many cases, your toilet can be a big source of the leaks. So, just to stay mindful of that possibility. Okay, the next question is for you. Has the Go Green initiative reached out to restaurants in our town? It would help too.
That's a great question. Actually, not on this issue because of COVID. So we have all been, doing our internship over Zoom. In years past, our interns have worked with Pleasanton businesses. The first 2 years of our internship, our interns were working with businesses as large as Oracle's Pleasanton campus and businesses as small as, all of the shops on Main Street. So we'd like to be, and we will be when it's safe, but not on this particular issue yet.
All right, and I think that wraps up the questions that I can see here that we received. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us on YouTube Live tonight. This is such a great virtual experience. I know we would have loved to have been at the Firehouse Arts Theater, for example, tonight to do this, but I think given all of the constraints of our pandemic summer, this really was quite the success. And I really enjoyed getting to work with everyone involved, both at the Go Green Initiative and Museum on Main. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Olivia. I want to just step in really quickly at the end and thank all of you for your time. Thank you to those who have been watching on YouTube. Thank you to those who will be watching in the future who maybe couldn't join us tonight live. Thank you to the students. Thank you, Jill Buck, for all your work. Olivia, I can't thank you enough for everything you've done to help with these water-related programs. You've been amazing. And I also want to just thank Go Green in general, the Go Green Initiative, Zone 7 as well, the Smithsonian's Museum on Main Street, which was kind of the whole reason why the museum got involved in some of this because of their waterways exhibit. And then, like I said, thank you all for joining us. If you haven't seen, I know at the beginning my internet was kind of going, it seemed like it was going in and out. So if it wasn't clear, we do have on our YouTube, we have Olivia's talk about supply and demand in the Tri-Valley with water on our YouTube channel. We also have Ken's talk on the history of water. This will now be here on our YouTube channel, as well as the little snippets about the exhibit. So even though it's going on Sunday, you can still keep learning about water here in the Valley, and then in general about how it affects our lives. So that was just kind of my 2 cents at the end. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add?
I have one more thing I wanted to add that I forgot to mention earlier. We are working with Tri-Valley TV to have this documentary screen on Tri-Valley TV. We're still working out that schedule. So follow the Go Green Initiative's communication channels for when that premieres. And we're also hoping it will premiere and also be a regular segment for the coming months. So that's another great way to be able to watch this.
Yeah, and for the students, I was only posting the questions, but I really encourage you to go back through the YouTube chat. Everybody was so amazed with all of your work. All the feedback was just like, everyone was blown away, including I was blown away. It was phenomenal. So kudos to all of you, great job. And I can't wait to see it on the big screen on TV, on TV 30. So thank you all so much. And for all those watching still, try and stay cool in this heat wave and try and conserve water, and we will hopefully see y'all soon. Bye everybody, thank you.